Hello, and thank you for joining me. You know, I was watching a stream the other day, and someone asked about custom stairs, and I couldn't help but remember an old Revit tutorial from 2005 by Bruce Gow, and I thought, wow, what a great video that would make. So here we are, 15 years later. Let's see how it stands up to Revit today. Now this is basically going to be me following along with Bruce's tutorial. You can find that over at his old blog, Revit-alize.blogspot.com. Bruce, if you're watching, what have you been up to these days? I'm going to basically be expounding just a bit more on the modeling of the baluster and railing components that Bruce went over in his tutorial. And I'll be doing this in Revit 2020, so if you're joining us from 2005 when the tutorial is written, your interface may look a bit different. I remember when everybody hated the ribbon system? All right, let's jump in. All right, so this is take 5. I just recorded half of the tutorial with no sound. Instead of doing a voiceover, I figured I'd just do it and make it look like I'm really good at what I'm doing. So we're going to start by creating a stair. And we can see here that this is the custom glass one that I already have. I'm just going to ignore that. And I'm going to start from here, and I'm going to create a new stair type. We're going to call this custom stair redo. You can call it whatever you want, custom glass, custom whatever. We can call it Stairway to Heaven. Doesn't matter. But you want to be descriptive about it. We don't really need to do anything in here. We do want to go ahead and tell it that we don't need any stringers. Now this is a little bit different than the way that it was done in the Revit-alize tutorial, because stair assemblies weren't the thing. You had to sketch everything and it was kind of all one piece. So this is going to differentiate a little bit from the tutorial that we're going off of, but you want to be sure that your stringer types are turned to none. We don't want those. And we want to come in here, and this run type here, we actually want to change this. We're going to duplicate this and call this glass treads. All right. And we want to turn the riser off. We don't want a riser. We just want the treads. So for the material, obviously we want this to look really cool in glass. You can make it whatever material you want. I have a glass PBR material that I just made. That is using PBR settings from inside of Revit, so hopefully it'll look a bit nicer if we want to render that. So I'm going to hit OK there, and we're going to hit OK, and we're going to hit OK again. Now I'm just going to create a stair by sketch here, a run, and we're just going to start it right smack in the middle. And we want this to go from I'm going to make it more like 12 feet. I'm going to change it here in just a second. But I'm just going to make it circle back on itself just like that. And we're going to go all the way up. All the way up. See, it says I've got 4 remaining. So we'll see if it'll let me come back around. 18. There we go. So we can see now that I've got a stair with just the treads. Now, I want to go through this real quick because there might be some of you who are like, well, I've never done stairs and I've never seen a stair like this in Revit. So I want to just change this back to, after I hit finish here, and get rid of the railings. We don't want these default railings. I'm going to go back and change this to the standard stair type that comes in Revit. And I just want to show you what those different things that we did actually, how that affects our stair. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to edit type again, and I'm going to do this to the default one. You don't want to do this if you're using this somewhere else in your project, so hopefully you're doing this in a little sandbox file. But if we turn our stringers off and hit apply, you can see that that gets rid of the stringers over here. So turn the stringer off, apply, boom. And now we've got just treads and risers. So the way we affect our treads and risers is by updating our run type. That's defined in the run itself. And we can set a material here just like you saw. If I turn treads off and hit apply, we have a very tricky parkour staircase that looks like it might be fun for some people. And if we do the opposite, where we turn treads on and turn risers off, we're left with just our risers, which is exactly where we were with our other one. So I'm just going to cancel out of these, and I'm going to undo all that, and now we're back to our stairs right here of the Stairway to Heaven type. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to create some profiles and balusters that we're going to use to create a railing that constructs our support underneath the stairs and our tension posts. And then we'll come and create a profile for the railing itself, the glass barrier, the guardrail on the edges. One thing I do want to do real quick though, some of the dimensions that I'm going to be using are going to be in metric out of the tutorial. The other ones that I'm going to be using are things that aren't in the tutorial that I'm more familiar with, and just to speed up the process, I'm going to use feet and inches for those. And I'll kind of try to remember to let you know what it is that I'm using. Another thing to take note of is that if I do something and you're just like, what in the world just happened? But just put in comments, hey, you know, at 2 minutes and 51 seconds, you did some crazy magic, and I have no idea what you did. I use a lot of keyboard shortcuts. You don't have to, but if you find that and you don't know what happened, it might have been a keyboard shortcut. I will definitely go back and review it and post what we did. So one of the things that Bruce did is he did a 1,000 millimeter wide stair, and that'll be important to come back to when we start making our post tension or our tension rod posts. So I'm going to go ahead and put 1,000 millimeters in and hit OK and hit OK. And we can see that hopefully that updated the width there. Oh, minimum run width. I think I changed that instead of the actual width here. So if I edit stairs, sorry, and then I select the run itself, that's where I need to put 1,000 millimeters. Now we can see that that actually updated. Okay, so here we are. We've got our fun little tread-only stair, and now we're going to create our support. So the first thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to create the railing. Now, there's probably some other ways to do this, but like I said, we're going to be doing this the Stairway to Heaven tutorial way, which is we're going to create a new profile family. So we're going to do File, New Family, and we're going to come down here to Profiles, and we're going to use our profile template. If you don't have these, you need to be sure you have your data set installed from the install process from your Revit install file, or download them from Autodesk site, because you'll need this template in order for this to work the way that we're intending it to. So I'm just going to draw my wide flanged beam. I'm going to draw it correctly. And this is one of those things that in the tutorial it's not really mentioned what size it should be, so I'm just going to make one that I think is mostly correct. So I'm going to go back like 3.75 inches. I'm going to come down, I don't know, like 6 inches. But essentially you just want to make an eye shape. Right? It doesn't have to be perfect. I think I'm going to make mine just a little bit longer. Let's put like 8 inches in there. Alright, it might not need to be quite as wide. I think maybe I'm going to shorten it by 1 inch on each side. Alright, and then I'm just going to move this to the middle here. Now, Bruce mentions in his tutorial that we want this to be about 300 millimeters below our plane. This is the top of the tread, essentially. So I'm going to trust him on that. You might have to come in and adjust it based on what stair type you're going to make. And I am just going to load this into the project. You can save this if you want to keep this as a profile. I know this is a one-off for me, so I'm probably just going to load this straight in and rename it into the project. So I just hit load in the project, and then I'm going to scroll down here in the project browser to the families. I'm going to expand that, and then I'm going to go to profiles, and we can see here that family 5. I'm going to rename that to I-beam, which is already in use because I've already done this once before with no audio. I'm going to call this I-beam. You can call it WF if you want to, but I want to be somewhat consistent with the tutorial. So next what we want to do is we're going to create our baluster posts, and we'll do that using the baluster family template. Now the baluster family template will provide us with the correct categories and whatnot that we need. You can probably use it, make this using generic model, but we're just going to keep consistent with the tutorial for now. So we're going to do File, New, a little flyout here, Family, and we're just going to pick Baluster. We don't need Baluster Panel, and we don't need Baluster Post. Just be sure you click Baluster there. And this is going to bring us to the default editing view for balusters. Now this one is going to be the one that kind of holds everything together. So we have two different sides to this, all right? And I'll bring this up again to kind of show you what our goal is. And let's see, which one is it? Here we go, this guy right here. So you'll see that there's a couple different elements. I'm going to do it a little bit differently than I did when I was doing this, which is fine. So what I want to do is make sure that when we go to, let's see, there we go. All right, so I'm going to do some extrusions. I'm going to do 1, 2, and then we'll do 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cylinders. So we'll do those guys right there. All right, and then we'll do our tension rod sweeps back to those. So here's how we're going to do this. Now, we talked earlier about how we need to know the width of the stairs, and this is where that comes in. So I'm going to put a couple of reference planes in here. I could have mirrored that, but, you know, hindsight's 20/20. I'm going to go ahead and throw some dimensions on these, and once again, I'm going to get this up to our guardrail height so that we know what our target is for this. All right, and we're going to make this half of our tread width, which is 1,000 millimeters. So I'm going to make this 500 millimeters, and I'm going to make this one 500 millimeters. All right, and that's from our center point here. But we're going to be kind of modeling everything around this point, this center origin here. So what I want to do is I just want to verify. I can't recall off the top of my head whether or not this was, yes. So this is a center support for the tread, essentially. So we want to be sure that the bottom of our tread, which I'm going to assume is about ½ inch below, so it's ½ inch glass, we're going to be sure that our support is either in that or below that so that it looks like the tread is sitting on it. So let's go ahead and let's just say we're going to go bottom of tread here, 0.5. All right, and you can call this bottom of tread if you want. Right? You can call this left and right if you want to. Left. Actually, you know what you should call it? Inside and outside. So we'll say inside of tread and outside of tread. That'll help us keep track of where things are. All right. So I'm going to start with just an extrusion, and we're going to say center, front, back. All right. And we're just going to make our extrusion right here. There's no real specification on the tutorial on what size to make this, so I'm just kind of guessing at this point. You can model it based on whatever specs you might have to be working from. I'm just going to make that ½ inch by, what do I make it, like 5 inches? Yeah, something like that. All right. So I've got this long piece right here, which we can't really tell what's going on because there's no reference for this yet. But if I look at my top-down view of this, we can see that the center of our tread is right here. We know that because we can hover over it and it says center, front, back. So we know our treads are about 11 inches wide, deep. So I'm going to go something like 5.5 inches there, and I'm going to mirror that across there. And that we know, now we know what the front and the back of our tread looks like. I don't think we need this to run the entire length. So we can do something like this. We're just kind of guessing at this point. All right. So we're going to go back to our front view, and we're going to model that V shape. And that one's a little bit trickier. We need to do a little bit of planning for this. So actually, let's step back. Let's go to our reference level view, our top-down view, and let's look at what our tread shape looks like. We know that on one of these sides, in particular the interior side, that the standoffs, that the tread supports are going to be right next to each other. All right. So which one did we make the inside? Is that that's the outside. All right. This is the inside. Okay. So what we should probably do is we're just going to create an extrusion here, and we're going to make this. This is the end of our tread, so we actually want to go inboard of that just a little bit. So let's make like a little. Sure. Let's do half-inch circles. All right. So I'm going to copy this a couple times. Copy. There we go. And they're just right next to each other, cozied up, having fun right next to each other there. And what we want to do with these is we want them to be sticking up above the tread just a little bit. And if we know that dimension, so we can look and see that our reference plane is our reference level here. So we could say extrusion start or extrusion end is like, I don't know, half an inch above. And that would be like the part that screws in on the top. All right. And we could say that our bottom is like -0.4 inches. Oops. -4 inches. There we go. And then we can actually apply that to all of them there. So we can say 0.2425, so a quarter inch. Nope, that should be half an inch. And then -4 inches there. Okay, so now I've got 3 of them sitting there like that, nice and happy. Happy little tread supports. So what I can do now, since these are individual, I can actually just copy these over to my other side, or mirror them even. I'm going to mirror them over there, right? That way they're the same distance from the tread. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to spread these up just, so far. Again, if you have the specs on this, be sure you put those in the right place. If you don't have specs on them, be sure that you are making it make sense so that we know this is the inside, this is the outside. All right, so they're all the same size. And now what I can do, since I have a reference for all of these, is we're going to come to the front, and we can use this reference to create our tension poles, which go back and forth across here. So I'm going to create an extrusion. Again, center, front, back. We're going to hit OK. And what I'm going to do is, just from a point here, I'm going to do something that looks like it makes sense, right? And I'm going to do one side and I'm going to mirror it over. So what I'm going to do here is, essentially, I'm going to create something that looks like it makes sense. Again, let's do 1 inch on this. That way we've got a nice thick tension rod that can connect into this. And then I'm going to bring this down in the middle. Then I'm going to get rid of that. Now I'm going to hit the rotate button. And I'm just going to rotate this until it's parallel, just like that. All right? So that's one side right there. Now what I could do is I'm going to create a line out of, it's just somewhere in here. All right? And I'm actually going to extend these out using the trim tool. And then I'm going to copy this. This is a little bit different from the tutorial. That's fine. I just want another attachment point over on this side for these tread supports. So I'm going to split this using my keyboard shortcuts, and then I'm going to trim them again. And you can see here that I've got now, all right, a nice little component here. Now I don't need it extending out past here, and I can see now that this is going to cause trouble, but we'll get it figured out. Let's go back to our top-down view, and we're just going to make this so that it comes to, we'll just make this the default, right? That width right there. Okay. All right, now I'm going to split these out into separate extrusions here, and you'll see why in a second, because if I were to do this same thing over here, it wouldn't be matching up with our tread supports. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to edit this extrusion. All right, and actually what I'm going to do is copy it. So I'm going to copy, click, and move it 0. And we're going to edit this. We're going to delete this side of the profile, and then we're going to edit the other one. And we're going to delete this side of the profile. Okay, so now we have two separate extrusions. All right, I'm going to join this to all these. You don't need to do that, but that's fine. You can if you want. And now what I'm going to do is edit this one. So I'm going to edit, and I'm going to go back to my front view so that I've got a point of symmetry. We're going to take these lines and mirror them. Now, you can make this solid if you want. I'm more of a fan of creating lines like this. You do you, all right? If you want to make one solid piece and join them, that's fine. But this is how I'm going to roll, all right? I'm going to take this one and I'm going to mirror it across. That way we know that it's at the right angle. And then let's go take a look what we've got going on here from the top-down view. So I've got this guy right here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring it about like this. I think these are going to end up being more trouble than it's worth. But I don't know, maybe it'll end up being something cool. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to set the rotation. By the way, if you're in rotate and you hit the space bar, it automatically goes into place center point. So I'm going to place that center right there. And oh, you know what I didn't do? This needs to be, I'm going to make a line. This needs to be centered about this. So I'm going to move this so that it is centered. Yikes. Move. Oh, it doesn't like me doing that. Okay, you know what? I'm abandoning that. So I'm just going to delete those over there. All right, so now we've got this guy right here and this guy right here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a sweep that goes basically from here to here and here to here. So let's take a look at how we're going to do that. So from the front view, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a sweep, and I think we're going to do this from the reference level view. Let's do create sweep. All right, we don't have to pick a work plane because we're in a reference level view. We're just going to do sketch path, and I'm just going to do it from the midpoint of this to the midpoint of our support. And we're basically going to be using this as kind of an anchor point for everything, the center here. And it helps to do it from the center, and you'll see why in a second, because I have to disassociate it from this plane and all that fun stuff. So I finished the path there, and then what I'm actually going to do is select profile. I'm going to edit profile from a 3D view, because we don't really have a good view to do that, this profile head on. So we're just going to create, I think we're going to create, man, I kind of feel like it should be nice and skinny. So maybe a nice, like a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch, and a 1/4 inch. Yeah, and you'll notice this looks completely wrong, and that's okay because we're going to move it around here in just a little bit. So let's move this down, and when I move, all right, I'm going to hit the disjoin. I'm going to check that right there, and we're just going to move this down. I'm going to say about 1 inch. Okay, so whatever feels good to you, all right? And hopefully we're going to do it so that it doesn't disappear from us. So let's try 1 inch. And now what I'm going to do is rotate it. And I'm going to hit the space bar, and I'm going to set my rotation point. See if it'll let me. It's not going to let me get the center point of that, but that's okay. I can actually just click one of these endpoints here, and then I'm going to come here, and I'm going to try to make it parallel. And I think just doing this right here will make it close enough. Is that pretty close? It's close enough for us. Make it good. All right. You want to make it so that it's it looks good. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, and now that I've got this on this side, I'm going to go to front, I'm going to go to reference level, and I'm going to mirror that across there, so now I've got both of those. Alright, so now I can join, and I can use multiple join to do that, and then I don't need multiple join anymore, so just click those two. Oh, I've already got that joined, so now we're good. Alright, so now we need to do them over on the other side. So same thing, reference level view, and I can actually just take this right here and mirror this, and what I'm going to do now is rotate from here. Boy, that didn't work out the way I was expecting it to. Let's take this and we'll rotate from here instead, and then we'll come to up here. I think it's going to make us guess. I'm okay with that. There we go. It looks like we need to edit this to get this down just a little bit. Right, just use my keyboard shortcuts. FF for finish. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to go to my reference level, and we're going to mirror this. Right, and we can see we've got a problem right here where they intersect. So what we can actually do is update that by just kind of separating those a little bit. It's okay if we do that. That's fine. So I'm going to mirror that one again. All right, let's come look at this. Do a little bit of joinery. Okay. And now we've got this right here. So that looks pretty cool and all. We need to bring our post in. So to create our post, we're actually going to model this using a generic model so that we can bring it in. So we're going to do File, New, Family. And we're going to create a generic model, which is the last file called generic model, even though it's probably one of the more commonly used ones. And we're just going to do this from the front here. Again, we want to set up our guardrail height. Let's give ourselves a couple of references to work off of. So that's 42 inches. And we want this to offset by about, I don't know, 2 or 3 inches. Let's say 3 inches. And I'm just going to give myself a couple of references off of the top of the tread. Remember, this is the top of our tread, and this is the edge of our tread. So we can call this edge of tread, and we can call this top of tread if that helps you, so you can remember what your references are. And I think I want these to be something like 4 inches up, and then maybe another 6 inches up, something like that. So what I'm going to do is create a sweep, sketch path. We're just going to go up, over, and up. All right, I'm not going to worry about locking these. If I wanted to parameterize this, I would probably worry about making sure it flexes. I'm not going to worry about that right now because that's not part of this tutorial. That's another video somewhere buried down in there. So we're going to finish that, and then we're going to edit profile, go back to our reference level view, and then I think we're going to want a nice beefy post on this. So probably something like 1.5 inches or something like that. So I'm going to go through here, and remember the things that in the Revit-alize tutorial were not in metric. I'm just going to be making stuff up that I'm familiar with. This is good for now. You probably remember seeing the 2 posts for the railings. I'm going to leave those off for now so that we can come back in later. And actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and put them in. I'm okay with that. So let's go to front, and let's give ourselves a couple of reference planes here. We're going to call this lower glass panel support. We're going to call this upper glass panel support. So this is going to be a little bit different from the Revit-alize tutorial. And what we're going to do is we're going to put our supports in here. And these will connect the glass panel, the glass rail panels that go up each side to these post tension or these tension posts that go down into our connections. Now, I think I messed up. I got to go back. I think this needs to be smaller than our tread supports down here, so I'll probably need to make this a little bit less. But all I'm going to do right now is I'm going to create another sweep, sketch path, and I'm just going to do it right along that boy right there. And let's make this a total of about 6 inches. And remember that this is the edge of our tread right here, so this is probably actually lined up pretty good. We're going to leave it just like that, and then we're going to select profile and edit profile. We can do it from a 3D view or left right. I actually like doing these in 3D views. We want this to be about the same size as the ones that were in this guy right here. So let me remember what size this is. So 1/2 inch diameter. I'm going to do the same thing over on this guy. So let's do 1/2 inch diameter. All right, just like that. I feel like that's poking through just a little bit more than I was hoping. Yeah, so maybe this needs to be more like just 4 inches. Maybe that'll be just enough. Just like that. All right, so now what's going to happen is hopefully, nope, it's not. So I've got to go on align to lock the path here. So I'm just going to use align and lock that right there. And I'm going to finish that a couple times. Now, hopefully, when I move this up and down, we get a sweep that stays with that. So I'm going to copy this down here. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to edit this by double-clicking it a couple times and align and lock. And that'll make it easier later on when we need to adjust where those supports are for the railing. We have a good way to adjust those. So I'm going to join these guys just like that. So we've got a nice looking post. And then the last thing that I want to do is this post is supposed to fit inside these supports. So maybe what I do is this. Maybe I just make this like a 1 inch diameter, and those posts just get big, right? Because then I'm not going to worry about that right now because I would have to go back and redo those tension rods. So now what happens, now that this is done, because I kind of like the shape of this, so I'm going to keep this the way it is, and I'm just going to load this into my the family that we just did earlier, and then I can just drop that right on top of that. All right, so this is kind of how this starts to come together here. All right, so if I go to the front view of this, all right, first things first, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to close this this family that we just made without saving because I've got it loaded in. And what I can do now is come over here and rename this. We're going to call this Baluster Post. And if you're asking yourself, why didn't you use the Baluster family? Well, I can't load Baluster family types into another Baluster family type. There are certain family types that you can load in. You cannot load a Baluster family into another Baluster family. So I made this generic model for us to be able to load it. So what I can do now is I'm just going to do some align and lock magic here. We really kind of made this to be from this spot right here, so I'm going to align it right there, and then I'm going to move this into, I wonder if it'll let me do that right there. And then I'm just going to mirror it. Okay, so this is what we're starting to look like right here. All right, you can assign materials to everything. Oh, you can see that I've got a little bit of an alignment issue going on here. Let's see if we can figure out what's going on with that. Oh, it would appear as though I just didn't align it this way, so we're going to do that. All right, now that's looking pretty good. I'm liking the way this is looking. So what we're going to do is this family you can save, or you can just load it into your project. Typically at this point, if you're not nesting it into another family, you should probably save it. So that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this. I'm just going to throw it on my desktop. We're going to call this tension, or we'll just do this, glass stair tension post step. And we should probably call that baluster also, so that we know it's a baluster type. Okay, we can't even change the type of this, so that's always nice. All right, so now let's load this into our project and see what we can do with that. All right, so we're getting close now. We're going to add some of the final touches to our stair, and hopefully it starts to look as good as Bruce's stair over on his tutorial. So this is the part that we're kind of going to start abusing to get the stair components in. We're going to create a railing, and we're going to change, we're going to go from the default railing system to, we're going to call this center rail, I don't know, I-beam, tension, rod, baluster, whatever you want to call this, you know, kind of thing. And so we're just going to center rail, I-beam, and there's a couple things that we want to change with this. The first is I'm not going to use the top rail for this. Maybe we'll come back and change it a little bit later on. But for now, we want our continuous railing, which is going to be our I-beam. I'm going to insert. We're going to call this I-beam support. All right, height is 0, offset is 0, and for our profile, we're going to go find the I-beam that we created. We can give it a material if we want. I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm going to hit OK. And just so that you can start to see this being constructed, I'm going to hit OK here. I'm not going to put our baluster posts in quite yet. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select our host of the stairs, and then down the center of the stair, I'm going to sketch, hopefully. There we go. I'm just going to use the pick line, and then we're going to do that right there. Down the center of our stair, I'm going to hit finish. And we can see now that we've got some little pokey uppies that look like they need to be gotten rid of in our railing definition. We'll get to that in a second. I think those are there by default. But we can see, you know, we've got something going on, right? So hopefully our step baluster will connect the treads back down to the I-beam. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So I'm going to select our rail again, and I'm going to hit edit type, and now we're going to talk about baluster placements. So you can see here there are actually balusters in here by default. We don't want any balusters, okay? Well, we don't want a pattern. What we're going to do instead is we're going to tell Revit to use 1 per baluster. And I'm going to hit apply here, and we're just going to see if that gets rid of it over there. It doesn't, because we have to go back to this dialog box. So we'll do that. We'll kind of try to make it so you can see what this is doing each step of the way. So we're going to use, and we don't want to start end or center post either. So we want to go ahead and set those to none. All right. And you can see if I hit apply here, it gets rid of those that were showing up. So what we want to do is use baluster per tread on stairs, and we want to go find the glass stair tension post step baluster that we were making. So we now have 1 per tread, which is exactly what we want, and that's really all we want in here. All right, so I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to hit apply, and look at that. So we've got a little bit of a challenge in terms of, it looks like our posts are flipped. So I'm wondering if we can just take this, and there is somewhere a flip arrow. Let's see if we can find that. There it is right there. Aha. So we've got these up here, and it looks like our balusters are sitting up about where the treads are. So something happened with our calculations on where we're creating those. Let's see if we can fix that real quick. Let's just go to, I'm just going to create a quick section here. And we're going to take a look at where we messed up. So it looks like we're about 3 inches off from the top. Now I could just tell it to offset this down, and actually maybe that is what I do. So maybe I actually take this and we look at our baluster placement, and we can't do anything with that. So baluster offset, use landing height. So I don't think we can actually adjust the top of this. Nope. Using any of our definitions here. So typically we could say that the base offset, is -3 inches or something like that. But it doesn't look like it's going to let us do that because we're using baluster per tread on stairs. So let's hit OK here. Now let's jump back into our post tension step family here and see if we can figure out how to fix this. So let's go up here to balusters. Nope. Down here to railings. And let's find glass tension post step. Edit. And let's go back to front here. Alright, and let's just see what happens if we take all of this and just move it down 3 inches. This is going to break a few things, but we're just testing at this point. It didn't like that. That's okay. What's it deleting? Alright, so let's load this in and just see how that affects. It actually looks better. So I'm not too sure exactly what this is supposed to be attaching to in terms of the reference plane that it's using. I really thought that top of that reference plane was going to be giving us a good reference there. You can also see that we might need to change. Let's edit this a little bit because the center of our stair is looking a little crowded. Oh. I just want to line this back up with the center of our stair. Alright. Looking kind of cool. Oh, I wonder if that's the issue. It looks like I need to align my SketchUp with the actual stair itself. Let's do that. So let's take this and bring it here. We're going to take this and bring it here. So you can see that moved it a little bit, but not the way we really wanted it to. So I think what I'm going to do is just line these up for now for the sake of this tutorial. And we'll go back and we'll revisit that maybe a little bit later. I'll update the video and we'll figure that out. So let's come back to our family. Here we go. Front. And we're just gonna move these down manually. Just like that. Right. And I have two options here. I can either bring the profile of the I-beam up, or I can bring this down to touch the I-beam. I think for this, I'm just going to bring this down. There we go. We can see it's starting to intersect the I-beam there. All right, and we're starting to look like something fun is going on. I think for the other half of this, I'm going to bring the I-beam profile up. So let's go find our I-beam profile and edit this. And then we're just going to bring this up 100 millimeters. All right, load this back in to the project. And override existing. And it's pretty tight. It could probably come down just a little bit, but I'm okay with this. So let's go forward with this right here. It looks like some of these balusters are actually at a different height than others, and that's quite interesting. We can see here that the tension rods are poking through the treads themselves. I do remember actually that we said that our tread thickness was going to be 1/2 inch, so maybe that's one thing we need to do is let's just come in here and I'm going to tab through to the stair. We're going to edit this run type, and we're going to say that the tread thickness is 1/2 inch. And we don't need a nosing profile, so I'm going to go back into that definition and turn off nosing profile. There we go. All right, so yeah, that's really interesting that these are at a different height down here than they are up here. So that's something that I have not encountered before, and I'm not really sure what is going on with that. I wonder if I need to reassign that. Nope. Nope. For some reason, we're good down here, but not so good up here. All right. That is something to look into. So until then, let's just go ahead and put our glass railing panels on. So what we're going to do for that is we're going to create another profile. And so let's go to File, New, Family. Go down into Profile. And from the reference level view, we're just going to create a nice thin profile for us. Now in the tutorial, this is made using, let's see here, I think it's 6 millimeters by 300 millimeters. All right, let's just go ahead and load this into our project. And come down here and rename that under Profiles. What is that, Family 10? We're up to 10 already. I did not mean to edit that. Let me just close that again. Family 10, let's rename that. We're going to call this Glass Panel Profile. Alright. Now we're going to create another railing type. So let's come in here under Architecture, Railing. We're going to call this duplicate glass stair panel. There we go. And our railing structure is actually going to be a little bit different on this. I'm going to add it piece by piece. But I'm going to name this glass panel top. Let's do bottom for now. All right. Excuse me. And we're going to start it at 0. And we're going to say this goes up about 100 millimeters. And our profile is going to be the glass panel profile. I'm going to hit OK. Hit OK. And I was reminded that I need to rename the type, so we're going to do that as well. Glass. Come on now. Oh, I can't do it while I'm sketching a family. So I'm going to do the outside first here. We're going to come and bring this around to the bottom. Make sure that our stair is our host. Okay, and we can see that I did not define the material here. Oh, you know what? You know what else I didn't do? Since I duplicated it, I didn't fix the balusters. Got to get rid of those too. So no balusters. Okay, okay. Let's finish that. And then let's hop back into the type definition and change that, sorry, the railing structure. Let's change this material to glass. Sure, we'll do the bronze glass again. That's fine. All right, so I've got that set there. Now we can see that that is quite low compared to where our supports are and where everything else is. So I think what we need to do here is, let's see what happens if we flip this. Yep, there we go. And I think there's some more definition, some more offsets happening here, so let's change our offset to 0. I'm not sure why I had that set to something else. And let's just see what happens. Hit OK and apply. Alright, so we can see that we're quite low there. So I think we want to change the height to, I'm just going to say, I think we had like a 4-inch bump on that. Let's go a little bit higher than that. Let's go 8 inches. So this is where you kind of have to piece things together. Alright, so I'm okay with that. We'll bring this support down a little bit, kind of be in the middle of it. And then let's make, what we'll do is we'll use the same railing type. And we're going to go to Rail Structure, Insert, and maybe I can just duplicate instead. What do you think? And I think we're going to make this, what was the height? So we're going to say 300 millimeters. So that's 1 foot, about 1 foot. So we're going to do 1 foot. Let's just do 2 feet. Let's see what happens. There we go. That's not bad. All right, and it looks like it sits kind of right where we want it to. So I can go back in and adjust the heights of these guys, which I'll do here in just a minute. But first, we talked about not using a top rail earlier. I think I'm going to use it in this one. So let's use top rail type, top rail type, circular handrail 1.5 inches. It actually isn't a handrail, is it? It's actually going to be a guardrail, but I think we're going to use that 1.5 inch top rail anyway. So there we go. Now we could play with the numbers and make that sit right on top of our posts. So let's do that real quick. That height, 3'6". Yes, that's perfect. Top rail type, hand clearance. Let's see if we can get an offset on here. I know that there's a way to do it. We just have to find it. So let's take this. What happens if I change this to 0? What happens if I go back the other way? Let's go like -5 feet. That'll do it. Let's try -5 inches instead. Alright, so we're getting a little bit closer there. Let's go -3 inches. And is that actually close? So we can see that our railings are actually low because we had to move them down. And we've got this issue still going on up here. So that's pretty interesting. I'm not sure what's going on with that. So you know what? Let's just go ahead and bite the bullet here and edit our step tension. Let's go find our baluster here. So under railings, we're going to edit this. All right, and then we're going to come find these guys, and let's edit that. I'm going to edit family, and I think what I want to do is we're just going to kind of cheat on this a little bit. We're going to take our sweep, and I think we're like, I don't know, 2 inches short or something like that. I'm going to take this because I think it's locked to it. We're going to move that up 2 inches. It was not locked to it. There we go. And let's go back and look in our section and see how far off we were here. So I think 2 inches will do the trick. It actually might be a little bit too much if I bring that down 2 inches. And then I think we need to bring this top one down about 2 inches, and we need to bring this bottom one down, let's say about 5 inches. So if we come back here, remember we set this up to where if we bring this down 2 inches, oh, it didn't lock. Oh, you know why? Because I've got disjoin selected still. So we need to uncheck disjoin 2 inches, and let's bring this one down 5 inches. And then I am going to go ahead and bring this guy down by about an inch. Alright, so now let's load that back into our baluster. Override existing, there we go. And then we're going to load this back into our project. And I think, by the way, part of the reason we've got this weird thing going on with the tread heights is because this is a baluster family. If I come back and look at this, you can see there's a bunch of constraints right here that Revit likes to hold on to in terms of what the post family is doing. So there's a small chance that I've got some things that are constrained in here that are moving every time we go to a new tread that I'm not aware of. Like I don't think anything's moving here. Yeah, maybe. So I don't know. We've got some things going on that we would want to really fix, but since this is a one-off family, I'm okay with just kind of fudging it till it works. All right, so we can see our supports are now in the middle here. We're really dang close with that top rail going up. We really would need a handrail as well. So you know what we could do is we can also do a handrail. Let's see, handrail type. Let's do handrail. There we go. And height is 3 feet. I don't know why it's saying none. Oh, there we go. We'll do left. And come in here and say we need to offset this, I guess. Oh, you know what? Are we using the same type for both of those? No, we got top rail type and left. So this should be able to, if we change this, yep, there we go. I'm okay with that for what we've got. We'd probably want to go ahead and add some like supports to that. I'll just pretend that that's welded to those posts for now. And then we're going to create a railing on the other side. So let's go back to floor plan and let's create similar. So you can right click that and hit create similar, or you can just hit CS as a keyboard shortcut that I've got. And we're going to create a railing right here. Wrap that bad boy up and finish that. And I think we need to flip that. And there is, oh, almost our stair. Maybe we should tell it to use this stair as its host. There we go. And I don't know, let's just see what this looks like in perspective. So if I come here, you can see that this is a nice looking little stair. So our glass railing covers our handrail, which, you know, might be a code violation, but that's kind of the way it works, I guess, when you're doing custom families. So with that, we are done creating our stair family. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions about how I did something, or if you'd like to make some suggestions on how it can be done better, because we all know that Revit has many ways that you can do the same thing. Feel free to leave a comment, and if you found this video helpful, I will be putting out more videos in the future. I'm going to go back over my tutorial log and probably be remaking those from the 2009-10 versions that they were to something a little bit more updated. So if you want to see those videos, go ahead and subscribe, and you'll be getting notifications when those videos come out, if you hit the little bell as well. So thanks a lot, and happy architecting, and we'll see you next time.